want to know about your first paranormal experience. Ghosts, shadow people, Bigfoot. What is the strange experience that you can't explain aside from saying it was paranormal? I'll go first. I was working for a magazine in the Florida Panhandle. I decided to tag along with a group of paranormal investigators as they went to investigate this place in Mariana called the Bellamy Bridge. I brought my friend Meg with me because I didn't know these people and I was being safe. So she and I are standing next to the river and we're talking. And she stops and she says, "Did you hear that?" I didn't hear anything. So we keep talking. And after a little while, I heard something too. Meg, when you asked me if I heard something, did it sound like chains rattling? That's exactly what it sounded like. Cool, because I just heard that too. Maybe we should go back with the group. And that has stuck with me, and now I like to tell ghost stories.
This happened, I didn't realize it was a paranormal experience. In fact, I recently figured out that it might have been a paranormal experience because I found out that ghosts and other entities can mimic your loved ones' voices. All right, so I was 10 years old and I had two sisters, or I still do. One of them was cleaning the closet, the other one was working 30 minutes away. And as I was getting ready to go to bed, we heard our sister who was working 30 minutes away call our names out. It wasn't like Stephanie and Blank. I just heard my sister call my name out. My other sister heard her name being called out. And we looked out the window and we didn't see her. We called her job and it turns out she was working. So this is a time before cell phones. And she was cleaning the bathroom. So when we asked to speak to her, because I wanted to verify this wasn't a prank, when we asked to speak to her, she sounded really annoyed because she was trying to get home. Till this day, we don't know who called our names out, but it was weird that I heard my name and my sister heard her name, but our other sister's voice.
And we're back with my mom, who still believes in mediums and psychics. Still hasn't learned a lesson, so let's go to another story that happened. So, I was about 15, we were dropping off our car to a shop, it needed to be repaired, and the mechanic was like, "You have about 5 hours to kill." So we said, "Okay, great." We're walking around, and of course she sees a little banner on the side of a window with a hand like this saying psychic readings and palm readings. So she goes, "We should go." We get inside, we're told to take our shoes off by a 4-year-old who screamed for their mother and father that somebody was there. Probably the first person in a month. I think the guy was surprised to see it, and he couldn't believe that my mom was buying all the stuff that she was saying. I was sitting there cross-legged going, "What is happening?" And he goes, "There is dark magic on your family. I can fix this for 5 payments of 600 because you guys seem like good people." I stood up and was like, "Nope, this is absolute baloney poo-poo." And my mom's like, stop it, this is real." I go to the front door, grab my shoes from the 4-year-old, and I was out of there. Mom finally comes out and says, "I think he was a scam artist. Think!"
Let's get started with this one because this is a doozy. Okay, so a little backstory. My bed has never always been right here. My bed used to be on that wall, just like the headboard was there and the footboard was like next to the window. So, I'm asleep, laying in my bed as one does. I'm like chilling, and then I'm like 5 or 6 at this point. And so I'm laying here and I wake up and I look in this corner where my bed is now. I look in this corner and there's a man standing there. He doesn't look like a human. He's just a giant shadow figure. His head was like there. So I'm sitting here and I'm like, what the fuck is happening? Let me see if I can find a picture of what he looks similar to. Let me see if I can find one. Have you guys ever heard of the Hat Man? Because I'm 99% sure that it was him. But this is what it looked like. So like this is what he looked like. And when I tell you I almost shit my pants, I mean it.
This one for me. Okay. So, boom. I don't remember how old I was, but I remember this particular night. I slept with my mom. Because, like, stuff like this was happening for a minute. Like, I thought it was ghosts in my closet. That's another story. But, basically, I was sleeping with my mom, and I was having this dream about my grandmother, who at the time was very ill. So, basically, I'm standing, like, in the doorway of my grandmother's room. I see my grandmother, like, sleep in bed. And there's this, like, shadow, this dark figure standing over her. And I'm, like, trying to scream, but nothing is coming out. So, but it seemed like the figure could actually hear me. And next video. Welcome, you made it to part 2. So basically, I scream and nothing comes out. Like, my grandmother is still asleep. Nobody can hear me. But this shadow person, like this man, hears me. And he turns around and, like, immediately it felt like my heart dropped. And then when he looked at me, he started to come towards me. And as he started to come towards me, the scene switched. So the scene switched, and I'm laying in bed. I'm laying up in bed. And I see my mom out the corner of my eye. And this shadow man is standing above me. Like, imagine waking up and somebody standing over you. So he's standing over me. And I'm like trying to get my mom's attention, but I'm stuck. Sleep paralysis. If you ever had sleep paralysis, you know, like, that's just the scariest thing ever, especially when you see stuff. So basically, part 3. So if you don't know what sleep paralysis is, Google it. But basically, I'm in this state of paralysis, and this shadow figure, I can't make out any facial features, like no clothes, nothing like that. He didn't have a hat on. I see some people, like, shadow figures have hats. Mine didn't. But I could feel, I guess you could say feel, he was draining me. Like, my mouth was open, his mouth was, I guess it was open, and I could feel like my life force literally, my breath leaving my body. So I'm gonna say breath because I don't really know that much about it. Some people like to say life force, so if that's how you know. But I wake up. So I wake up, and my mom is crying. My mom is crying. I'm crying because I wasn't in the bed with her anymore. I was on the couch next to her. Yeah.
First off, I got plenty, so I don't remember the first one, but I'm about to give y'all the rundown of this one. So we so happened to, like, live in these buildings that was, like, built by the military, or, like, built around something about the military and, like, the Air Force base, right? But, like, military Air Force base. So at the time, my little brother was, like, 1 year old. And this particular night, like, he so happened to be, like, crying his lungs out, like, just crying, like, you know, like, that shaky cry, like, that baby cry. Mind you, him and my mom is sitting on the bed in her room in the pitch black dark. So at this point, he been crying for a good, like, you know, a minute. So I so happened to go in the room, you know, playing mommy, playing big sister, motherly love. Soon as I step in the door, I see, like, all these figures just in the room, like, kind of going in circles. They, like, these staticky colors of, like, green and red. When I tell y'all, I was so shocked, my jaw dropped. Never seen nothing like it or heard of anybody else seeing something like this. It didn't feel evil, though.
We used to live in the shed house behind my uncle's house, and my mom used to work the night shift, and she would get off at 2 in the morning. Every time she got off from work and she got home, she would call my dad to go get her, and that day I was up, and he asked me if I wanted to wait for him in the backyard in the shed house or go with him and get my mom. I decided to wait in the backyard. I took a little baby doll with me for protection, and as I was sitting there waiting for them, I decided to look up. When I look up, all I see is the big old nut tree that they had, and underneath it there was a shadow of a guy with a trench coat flipped up so you could see where his eyes, and he had a hat on, and he started calling me to go towards him by my second name. Nobody else but my family members called me that, so I got scared and I was like, how do you know my name? I looked down to the doll's head's flipped looking at me. I threw it. I was scared. I go towards the back door of my uncle's house and I try to open it. I'm crying and begging for it to open. I'm pushing and pulling and it's not budging, and finally I was like, I accepted that I was gonna die, the thing was gonna get me, and the door busted open. I've been scared to go to backyards ever since.
Oh, Lordy, have I got some of these. 2 that happened right around the same time, the Winchester house, but I'm going to tell the Hawaii one. For anybody that doesn't know, Hawaii is haunted as fuck. And there's also an ancient elven race called the Menehune that come out at night. Yeah, you're going to want to Google that. So my best friend had never been to Hawaii. So in 2004, we went and we stayed at a super nice hotel, the Hilton, which was right on the beach. We're sitting on the beach one night and we're just chilling like underneath the stars. This woman comes out of nowhere. Like, looks like she comes out of the water. She's wearing a gorgeous red dress. Like, I'm like, what are you doing in the beach in that dress? She asks us where Ikaika's at. We say, we don't know who Ikaika is, sorry. And then she leaves. But I got a really weird feeling. So I looked to my left and she was gone. Within 3 seconds, there's no way that she could have gone out of my line of sight. Next night, we're talking to the bartender. He tells us about the ghost of the Hilton, who wears a red dress and is either believed to have been murdered or is Pele.
I'm going to talk about like one more and then I'm going to get back to Big Mouth, the important things. For a year or so, I couldn't sleep at all because I thought I was going crazy. I could swear to you that something was walking from the corner of my eye, like my peripheral, and I would see something walk and it was dark. And when I slept, I felt like something was watching me all the time and it was obsessed with me. I could feel something obsessed with me, and I would sleep and I could feel something obsessing over me, and I can't explain it. But I spoke to a witch and I told her, I don't think that it's in my mind anymore. I think this is real. And she said, has anybody ever told you you have a bright light about you? And I said, yes, and I love hearing that. She said, do you think lighthouses only attract good ships? And I understood what she was saying. When you are a light and you are warm and welcoming, anything will try to get in. And she told me to work on protecting myself, and I did, and I can sleep. Scary as shit. Scary.